Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So as per the previous league, I'm going to share with you the builds that I plan to play for my playthrough during Path of Exile 3.25 Settlers of Kalguur. And without further ado, let's begin. Okay, these are the builds that I have already planned, already tinkered around in POB, and it reached the level that I'm interested enough to play them. So there's 5 of them. Number 1, Ice Crash of Cadence Slayer. Number 2, Double Strike of Impaling Slayer. Number 3, Puncture of Shanking Gladiator. Disclaimer: this transfigured gem has been mentioned in the Patchnotes, but I haven't seen the numbers yet. But I've already planned to play a melee puncture way back when the rumors of Gladiator's rework have been around since many leagues ago. So this is something that I'm actually quite interested to play. Number 4, Smite of Divine Judgement Trickster, and finally Ice Shot of Penetration Totem Trickster. And what's different this time is that I'll be posting the POB down in the video description below. But I'd like to give a fair warning. If you're not really familiar with theory crafting or build experimentation, I would recommend against playing any of these builds, because I myself have enough in-game knowledge to actually make changes on the fly if there's like any shortcoming that I feel based on the POB that I've planned to reach the target that I want for the build. And I know that some people the how to say, some people would just follow POB blindly without knowing the actual interaction required to reach a certain how to say a certain build outcome that the build designer have originally planned. So unless you have a certain level of in-game knowledge, I would recommend against playing any of the build. But if you have, then good on you. You can take my POB and then maybe make any adjustment that you think would fit to your own playstyle. Okay, first up is my Ice Crash of Cadence Slayer. I actually planned this build last league, but I didn't get around to play it because last league was quite disappointing, so I kind of stopped playing early. And it actually played to our benefit because we actually got a huge melee buff this league. So this build is even stronger than ever, and it's basically something that I modified from my Glacial Hammer Slayer. If you've been following my channel from some time ago, you would be aware of my Glacial Hammer Slayer build. It's one of my most successful build, and also one of my most successful build series video. So basically, these are some of the uniques that we'll be using. Paradoxical Savior, so dual wielding Paradoxical Savior. For defense, we're using Fourth Vow and Divine Flash combo for that sweet chaos resistance, and armor applies to chaos damage taken from hits. And Divine Flash from Zibakwa will convert the elemental damage taken to chaos rest, which then will be applied using our armor, mitigated using our armor. And one of the better things about this league is not only the melee buff, but also the changes to endurance charge, where it gives less elemental damage taken. So it also reduces that elemental damage taken, and it works surprisingly well because this is also using Ralakesh Impatience and Un's Anguish brutal charges stacking. Okay, next up is the Double Strike of Impaling Slayer, and this is actually also technically built very similarly to the Ice Crash of Cadence Slayer. So I'm not going to cover much about the Unix and whatnot, but the only reason I have this version is because the previous Ice Crash is a slam skill and this one is a strike skill for this melee league. And the good thing about it is technically one of the largest buff skill in PoE 3.25, whereby the damage effectiveness goes from 409% to from 140% to 409%, which is almost triple from previous league. So yeah, looking forward to play this build, and it's actually also looking to be quite tanky this league. So I'm also I also want to play this build, but I'm saving the best for the last. Okay, next up is Puncture of Shanking Gladiator. We actually don't have the actual details of this Puncture of Shanking yet. All we know is that it will be the melee version of Puncture, kind of like how they change Frenzy, how they differentiate Frenzy and Frenzy of Onslaught. They only mentioned this in passing in the patch notes, so we don't have an actual numbers yet. And this is a build that I've basically been theory crafting for quite some time now, ever since they mentioned the rumor of Gladiator rework many leagues ago. So I'm actually quite hyped to play this build, especially since not only did they update the Gladiator ascendancy, they also updated how bleed works, where we now can aggravate, which is basically what to have enemy suffers maximum bleed kind of like ensnaring arrow used to have from bleed bows. And the build will be experimenting using the new Perfect Agony keystone, whereby the changes in Perfect Agony keystone gives damage over time multiplier for ailments is now equal to critical strike multiplier. So this will be achieved using the replica Aziris Acuity. It's a very experimental idea at the moment, so I'm not sure how it's going to play yet. So it can be quite janky. I'm not really sure how it's going to play. So he's hoping there'll be more, how to say, as the chances are I'm not going to leak stat this. I'm maybe going to test it in the game once it launch, if my theory actually works, and then maybe I'll decide if I want to play it. And there's also the concern with the new War of Attrition, where it gives more damage as time passes. I just want to know if this how it's going to work with pinnacle bosses during invulnerability phases. Is it going to reset? Is it going to pause? Is it like a permanent status? So depending on how it works, it's going to make or break the ascendancy node. And finally, block. Max block is back because they've updated versatile combatant to give 65% maximum attack and spell block. And also, we have chance to block is lucky. As you can see here from the POB that I've posted, the effective hit pool of this build is very high, 853,000. This is because the block chance that I calculated when the chance to block attack is lucky, from 65% max will be effectively becomes 87.7%. So I'm changing the configuration inside the POB to reflect that, to become 87% block chance. The build also have some life gain on block, so that's a huge plus to survivability. And yeah, so out of all the build that I have today, this will be the most experimental. So I definitely not recommend you to play this build, but you can take the POB that I have inside from the link down below and just fiddle around. If you actually just make sure you actually understand what you're doing, because disclaimer, I'm not going to take any responsibility if you get baited with this one. Okay, up next is the Smite of Divine Judgement Trickster. So I'm actually quite excited to play this build because they did not nerf Trickster, but they updated the new armor bases to for higher level. So this would give more defenses to our character, especially the ones that are using rare armor pieces. So this build is well, basically it's just a simple chaos inoculation strike build, but we'll be using Rakiata's Dance, which as you can see here gives treats enemy monster elemental resistance values as inverted, and it will be built around that, and also be utilizing one of the new glove uniques, one of the strongest glove uniques for in the game right now, which is Soul Ascension, which gives Soul Eater stacks, and this single stack will have like 5% more attack speed, and it can easily reach like 20 to 30 stacks every time, and it gives a lot of DPS for attacking build. And the good thing is it's also an evasion and energy shield base, so that's good for our defenses. And using Chaos Inoculation keystone, so we'll have energy shield, only energy shield as defenses. And and also because it's a melee skill, it also got buff this sleep, which is around I think it was around 47% more damage than the previous version. And at the moment, this is looking like to be one of the more comfier build that I have this league. I'm quite torn between playing this one or the build that comes next, which I'm more leaning towards too. And finally, we reach the last build that I've planned for this league, which is Ice Shot of Penetration Totem Trickster. So I actually planned this build last league, halfway through last league, using Raider initially, because and I was actually waiting for the Raider buff that's supposed to come initially, but sadly unfortunately they changed Raider to something else, and I find out that it really doesn't work that well anymore with the old ride with the new Raider, which is Warden. So I'm changing this to Trickster instead. So the build will be using Wilma's Requital for totem scaling, and we'll be using sorry, I forgot to cover a little bit. We'll be using Ice Shot of Penetration. Okay, Ice Shot of Penetration, how it differs than original base Ice Shot is that number one, it can pierce. Number two, the cone that it the cone explosion that it gives when hitting an enemy is perpendicular to the left and right instead of behind, and it's also much larger. And finally, numbers of projectile cannot be it cannot be modified by any additional number of projectile. So instead, my solution to that is to have multiple firing point, which is I'm going to use Totem. And I'm actually quite excited to use Wilma's Requital, because personally I've always liked the concept of the unique. It's just that I never had the chance to really play Totem build using that. I don't know. I just didn't get around to playing it after league starting something else, and I got bored with the league. So yeah, this will actually be my first time using Wilma's Requital. And another reason I wanted to play this, in fact, this is the one that I'm most keen on league starting. It is because they've actually buffed freeze ailment on bosses, whereby previously freeze can be inflicted on bosses, but it only allows up to 30% action speed reduction. But this new patch will allow us to inflict up to 50% action speed reduction. So we're going all into the freeze ailment for this. And yeah, since it's a totem build and also inflict freeze on top, don't be misguided by don't be misinformed by the effective hit pool. I'm thinking that this might be the one of the tankier build other than compared to the rest that I've covered initially. And yeah, I'm thinking of league starting this the most because it doesn't look like it's going to use the presumably more chase uniques this league for this especially for this melee league. And yeah, that's about it for iShot. Okay, finally, my thoughts and worries before we wrap up. So most likely, I'm going to league start one of the tricksters, which is the Smite of Divine Judgement or iShot of Penetration. And this time, I'm going to be sharing my the POB for all of the build. But again, disclaimer: if you don't, because I technically I don't think I've actually like tested any of the build in to the extent that I'm confident it would work. So disclaimer: please don't get baited if you don't know what you're doing. I have I know how to make like mid game adjustment to my POB as needed. So that's why I really don't have any trouble playing this kind of experimental build during the league start. So I'm not how to say I'm not marketing all these build as league starters. I'm just sharing what I plan to play this league. And although I'm quite confident with them, please don't get baited. If it doesn't work, please don't come and find me. Okay, and it's looking to be like a huge league. So here's hoping that GGG doesn't screw it up. Like 3.24. I think that's one of the among the worst league that I've played in recent time. And at the moment, we don't have much info on unique updates yet, or transfigured gem, or even rune crafting option. So all of the build, I would say, is not might not be fully optimized yet. So this is just the initial the POB based on the initial information that we have. And also, I'm actually quite scared regarding last minute nerfs because last time I think previously they nerf poisonous concoction of bouncing, and I think lightning strike also was nerfed like post post reveal in the trailer. Post patch notes, they it was actually much weaker than expected when they revealed the gem information. So last minute pre nerfs still possible. So here's hoping it doesn't happen to any of my build. And finally, as always, because I'm league starting one of them, so here's hoping I do not share any item with the meta builds because I really don't like chasing the same unique that everyone else is chasing. It's going to drive up the prices really, really badly, and it kind of it usually ruins the league start experience for me. And yeah, that's about it. If you have any question about the build, I can answer them to a certain extent, but I just would like to remind you, these are experimental. I've never tried. I've like have zero experience in some of them and just some minor understanding, minor experience in others. So yeah, I'll answer to the best that I can, but just so you know, these are not tested build. Okay, and that's about it. Thank you very much. Bye.